Ricardo, I guess we just wanted to know how you are physically since your tragic injury in Dallas as well, where we're from. Remember it vividly. Yeah, just how has life been since the accident?
Well, first of all, thanks for having us. We appreciate you guys giving us the time. For myself, I think I'm fine in comparison to a lot of other guys. I'm blessed to be here. I'm excited to be here. That was a rough day. It could have went a lot of different ways, and I'm thankful it went the way that it did. So at this point, I just try to be happy every day. I just try to, make as many people happy as possible and just be positive at all times. And, if it's something negative that's in my head, then, I'll just keep it to myself until I have something positive to say. And that's kind of how I live my life. That's how I wake up every day. So that's my mind frame, and but I'm here, more importantly, to speak for the guys that can't be here, the guys that have a hard time getting out of their recliner and pushing up out the chair won't do it, and they got to wait till the son to come pull their hand to get them out of the chair. And sometimes they're home alone, and that might be one of these times. They can't catch a flight to get here, and they can't reach something above the cabinet. And this is one of the world's greatest athletes. This is somebody that was, the biggest, fastest, strongest in his city and town and college. And now, because of the career he chose, he's unable to live the life that he's actually worked for. So that's what we're here for. And that's what's more important to me is making a difference in the future of football, making a difference in the Little League and the kids, and making a difference for the wives and the kids and the daughters that have to live with these great, amazing gladiators.
I feel like that was...
I know Alicia wanted to ask you as well about kind of some of your backstory. I know, I believe you lived in your car at one point as an undrafted free agent out of college. I'm assuming you're a very strong-willed man. Can you tell us about that time? And have those hard times helped you through the injury process?
For sure. I think everything that you go through, it makes you who you are. It makes you who you are. And like I always say, when you meet someone, you can't change a person unless you change the past. Everybody meets someone and say, "Oh, why do you do it this way? Why do you do it that way? That's crazy." But you don't know what they've been through. You don't know how their mom taught them. You don't know what their mom and dad taught them when they were growing up. So you can't change a person unless you change the past. And we're not trying to change the past. We're trying to change the future. And if we get a chance to get into down to the medical side, which Herman is, and I can kind of affect the players and the former players and the current players, then I think we're a perfect team together, and I think we'll get the job done. But going back to sleeping in the car, that is who I am. You can't change that, and you can't change me. I've been without a lot of things, and I've made it, and I'm here, and I'm happy about that. I wouldn't change it. I often think if I grew up with a lot of money, I probably wouldn't be here, because I probably would be, who knows? Who knows? Because anything is possible. But when you have limited resources, you have to, make do with what you have. And now that I have a lot of resources, I live as if I have limited resources. So I use those resources to help others.
Whenever we think about you as a player, a lot of people think of that hit.
Right.
That kind of defined your perception as a player. But how did that moment change you as a person?
I think it changed me as a person because it made me realize that in life it's not about a Rolls Royce, it's not about a big car, it's not about how big my earrings are or how many chains I have. It's more about the simple things in life. Because when I was laying on that field, I wasn't thinking about a diamond chain. I wasn't thinking about the new Rolls Royce truck. I was thinking. I just want to hold my daughter again. I want to be able to hug my mom again. I hope that I can walk off the field so I'll be able to throw a football with my son that's now in his second year of football. When you grow up, your dad is a football player. He's a gladiator. So all of a sudden now he's on the bed and he doesn't even know if he's going to be able to do any of those things with you. And all those things that I thought of and that I worked hard for to create this life for my family, I felt like it had been taken away from me just because of something that I chose I thought was right to change my family's life. So I think in that aspect it changed me greatly, and I'm happy. I'm not happy that it happened, but I'm happy that it changed me into the more of a humanitarian that I am today.
And Correct me if I'm wrong. Marshawn Lynch stayed with you in the hospital?
Yeah, Marshawn, he stayed with me for, I would say, about 5 nights straight.
What did that mean to you?
That meant everything. Somebody of his caliber to stay with me. And, when I first came in, I was undrafted. I was the guy kind of on the practice squad. I'm the shoulder pad holder. I'm the bring everybody helmet in. But I'm happy to be here, so it's not that bad. You got other first-round guys like, I'm not doing that. But, I'm just so happy to be here. And the crazy thing is the coaches appreciated that. The older players appreciated that. And that's just who I am. It's just, hey, what do you say I got to do? Whatever it is, as long as it doesn't jeopardize my integrity as a man, then I'll probably do it. So, yeah.
How do you view the play as well? Like, do you view it as a freak accident? Do you hold any resentment to? I believe it was Jeff Heath. Do you hold any resentment towards him? How do you view?
I hate him. No, I was just playing. Is that what TV is? That what TV's about? But so yeah, I don't feel that way. It's a barbaric sport, and this might sound extremely barbaric, but when I signed up for football, I kind of knew what I was signing up for, and I've hurt more players than I've been hurt. I've only been hurt once. My job was to get down there as soon as possible and stop this guy from moving with the ball by any means necessary. And I'm usually the fastest guy on the field on either team. So I'm usually the first one there, and I kind of timed it out, and I ran through a lot of them. So I knew at some point it was going to happen. But on that play, that's what they had to do to stop me. I had 3 people blocking me. I had 2 guys directly in front of me on the snap, and the guy that actually hit me came from the opposite side. He was lined up on another guy, and as soon as they snapped the ball, he took an angle to run exactly where I would be. So I couldn't see him. There's nothing I could do. That was just their plan to stop me from getting to the ball. Because I was going to get by those 2 guys. I do it every time. So the only way to stop me was to blindside me. So, I mean, that's the play that the coaches call. So at the end of the day, it wouldn't be on Heath. It would be on the coach. Coaches coach and players play.
What do you think about what the NFL is doing now to increase player safety? Obviously, there's something more you can always be doing, but what would you like to see the NFL do?
Yeah, exactly. So with the NFL, that's what we're trying to do. Me and Herm, we're trying to wiggle our way in and make the best of it. But a lot of times they're so busy and they have this going on and that going on, and they don't have time to talk about stuff like that, because the nature of a business is to make money and keep it going, and that's their goal. And I think they're doing a good job at that. But for us, it's about, as a fan and as a brother and as a teammate, you want to make sure, and as a daughter, I heard you say your dad played. Right, so you care more about whether your dad can actually walk and go to your graduation and go to your wedding than you care if they actually get the first down. And that's how we feel. And if they'll listen to this guy right here, everything will be fine. I think everything will be fine.
Well, I have to say, I love listening to Ricardo talk because he really hits all the important points. And how do you build somebody with this type of resilience? How do you build a Ricardo Lockette? I mean, I wish every human being had this kind of character. It would be wonderful. As to the issues of player health and what we're trying to do, Ricardo's already said very clearly the kinds of things that players go through during their playing years. The thing is that those years are relatively short if you look at the lifespan of an individual. So they spend most of their time not playing. Most of their years are spent after the game. And our focus in this particular study, based at Harvard, is to examine those years, guided by player input, and figure out what things are their priorities and put the best minds to work to figure out how we can minimize symptoms, minimize disability, and optimize their lives and the quality of their lives. So we focus on, of course, things related to head injury, but we also look at the entire player. We're concerned about the issue of obesity. We're concerned about the issue of sleep apnea, of chronic pain, and we have active research into each of those areas from a variety of scientists, and we hope to have results soon that will shed light and point a pathway to improving health. So that's what we're all about.
Could medical marijuana be a part of this at some point, or any of your studies? Do you think it could impact
that question?
I've gotten that question several times today, and I think it's a relevant question because there are people who swear by it. There are other people who are very suspicious and concerned about it. So it takes a systematic look at, what it takes to have an effect, who it works for, what route it's administered, whether it's inhaled or in a patch or oils. All sorts of questions are out there for what's going to be best for player health and function. We want players to be able to walk their daughters down the aisle, to come to graduations, and to not have headaches every day. We're working on all those issues and more. And it takes a large number of players involved. We are right now the largest study of living players ever, with about 4,000 guys enrolled, and we hope to enroll even more. So all these things are going on, and we're excited about it.
Question for both of you guys as well. So to me, it seems like mental health is probably a big component of physical health as well. I'm curious, what is your perspective on a guy like Josh Gordon, who's went through it? He's struggling, right? And it seems like there's no answer for him necessarily right now. Like, does someone need to step in instances like that? How can we?
Do you want to start, or you?
I think that's kind of hard because I think what he's asking is how do you help a player that is extremely gifted and has an addiction and also is dealing with mental illness? Like, he's not as I don't think well, maybe he does need to go to a facility, but it probably in his mind he's probably like, maybe I need someone to talk to at home. Right. Maybe I need guidance. Like I don't think he wants to go sit in a facility because he smokes weed. So where does
it's a tough issue, but it's such an important one. Consider the life of a player, right? You don't know where each individual has come from, but suddenly there's the glare of the NFL, right? All of that entails, all of that brings, the glamour, the money, the expectations, the dependence, the hangers-on, all of that, right? And you are the man, as Ricardo has said. You've been the biggest, toughest, fastest guy in your city or your region, your college, whatever. And there's a lot of pressure that comes with that, the pressure to perform. It's an incredible pressure cooker from where I sit. I'm not a player, but I can perceive that very few human beings have to face that kind of life under pressure in the public view. So it's ripe for mental or psychological issues to emerge. Everybody's going to have a different answer, but everybody needs access to an answer, whether that means rehab or all of that. That needs to be determined by somebody who's a professional who talks to that person. And it's upon every player to seek the help that they need. Sometimes the player isn't the decision maker necessarily. Perhaps the person with the biggest influence is a mom, or a dad, a spouse. All of the people that care about that individual really have to sort of band together if they see that there's an issue. I'm not speaking to anybody's particular case because I don't know details, and that'd be inappropriate for me to do that. But we have to recognize that they are unique individuals, uniquely gifted, but also with a unique set of problems. Not everybody is as resilient as a Ricardo Lockette, right? That's a lot to expect out of average people, quite frankly. But I think it's key that we recognize that everybody needs help, now and again.
As we wrap up, is there anything that you want people at home watching this to know, either about your experience or about your
So the mission is to teach football, to make football safe, and kind of if we could start with the kids once we figure out like what we can do to make it safer for the former players, and then we go back and then we start from the kids, and therefore I think it eliminates a lot of stuff. And if anyone has any questions, where could they reach us, or if they have a family member, or like where could they?
Absolutely. We certainly want to appeal to any players who might see this to join up with the study. The larger it is, the more definitive our results will be. We're easy to Google, Harvard football players study. You'll find us. I could give you a long URL, but if you remember the football players study at Harvard, Google that and you'll get right to us. One of the key things for the players out there and their families to know is that we understand that there are challenges after playing football for most people, right? What we want to do is not only find a pathway to improve the quality of life, but also to advise players with information about steps that they can take to protect their health, things that they can do to proactively prevent bad things from happening or improve chronic situations that they may not know about how to improve on their own. They should be in touch with us. We're happy to help.
You're on Radio Row leading up to Super Bowl 53. I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you about your ring. Do you have a favorite Super Bowl memory?
My favorite one was probably my first catch against the Broncos. It was a crossing route, 15-yard crossing route, and it was a dream come true. It was a dream come true. The lights, the whole week leading up to it, you do so many interviews, and your family's calling you, and you're just so nervous about how it's gonna go, and you finally get your name called, and like, okay, my play's coming up in the biggest game that I ever played in my life, and I make the catch, something I've been practicing about, dreaming about catching it. I try not to dream about dropping. I dream about catching it. Everything is positive, and then it happens, and then the stadium explodes, and that your mom's up there, and from what I understand, my mom was in tears, and my dad was just so happy because my dad was my first football coach, and my dad was there. So if you can imagine your son, and you've been coaching him just like I'm doing my son now, I was his first coach, so it's a dream come true, and I was excited about that.
Now, flipping to the next Super Bowl, it didn't have as bright of an outcome. Y'all fell to the New England Patriots. Does that make you want to cheer for the Rams this year?
I am 100% cheering for the Rams, in case you were wondering. I think it's going to be a low-scoring game. I think the defense will play really well because in a lot of high pressure games. A lot of mistakes happen in the beginning because you got a lot of guys that maybe been there for the first time, and they're like, oh, it's the Super Bowl. But then you have Tom Brady, who's been there so many times, and you got what's the head coach of the Patriots?
Belichick.
Bill Belichick, right. And you have him, and he's just so poised. And the hard thing, I think the Rams could do it, but they're going to have a lot of poise. It's going to take leadership in the beginning because if the Patriots jump out 21-0, it's a done deal.
It's over.
It's a done deal.
Thank you guys so much.